Am I the a-hole for taking my mother's ultimatum? So I had gotten a job and eventually started making money for myself to save up while I was living with my parents so I could move out eventually. After I got my first few paychecks, I asked my parents to take me to our cell phone provider. They both agreed, and both congratulated me on saving money to buy my own phone. I invited my boyfriend to come along with us, to which he agreed. Now, my dad, being the greatest man alive, paid for half of my phone and told me just to pay him back little by little. That way, I still have money to buy some stuff if I wanted. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I had finished paying off my dad and still paid for my phone bill myself. This is where my mother comes in. After those weeks, my mother approached me and asked if I could give them just a bit more money than my phone bill to help out with the utilities and such. While I was staying there, no big deal. I agreed, and started giving about $200 every 2 weeks to pay for my phone and help with the internet and water. After a while at my job, I was fired for missing too many days due to watching my nieces and nephew, while my sister and my mother went out and did errands. They would stay out almost 8 hours a day pretty much every day, and it would consistently make me late for work that I got wrote up twice because of it. So eventually the company let me go. I keep watching my nieces and nephew, and eventually got a new job at a smaller retail chain store. I still was paying the same amount of money while I was getting almost half as much in salary, and was paid weekly, which was leaving me with about $80 for the rest of the week. But after a few months, I was getting more and more frustrated with my mother. We were always having fights, and at each other's throats and screaming at each other. I always asked her why she wanted almost all of my money that I worked hard for. She would always just say, "You live under my roof, you will do as I say." This caused a major communication issue with us. So I told her I wasn't watching my nieces and nephew, so that way I could actually sleep so I could stay awake while working my third shift job. Cue the ultimatum. She berated me and told me that you can either give me money, stay here and watch your nieces and nephew while me and your sister do some errands, or you can get the hell out of my house. Then she left and went to the store. Needless to say, I chose to leave. I had all my stuff packed and called my boyfriend and told him what happened. He then called his mother, and she said that she would happily let me live with her and her son, my boyfriend. I gave my nieces and nephew my stuffed animals to take care of while I'm not there. My mother came back fuming, but didn't say a word other than, "I hope you're happy you're abandoning me just like your brother." I hugged her, told her I loved her, and left. I still kept contact with my dad, and my mom still tries to be a part of my life. Am I the a-hole for choosing to leave? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm proud of you for leaving. I'm sure that it was still hard. You made the right choice as that was a toxic and controlling environment. Your mother thought she could guilt you into whatever she wanted, but you proved to her that you are your own person and won't take it. Good. The comment about your brother leaving her too was both unnecessary and very telling for parenting if you aren't the first to leave. Based on the mom's comment about the brother and Opie's post, I think we can pretty accurately deduce which kid is the mom's golden child. The major flaw with giving ultimatums is that the person you are trying to control will choose to take the consequence. Opie's mother is being abusive. When you mistreat people, you reap what you sow. You are not the a-hole. Your mother is. Not the a-hole. The fact that the same thing happened with Opie's brother and the mom didn't learn a thing makes her double the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You left a toxic situation. Let's recap. 1. You prove you are financially responsible. Good. 2. You contribute in accordance to your means. You're not a freeloader. Good. 3. Your mother and your sister require a chore from you that costs you the job, aka your financial independence. 4. You find another job with lower pay. However, with fewer resources, you are still expected to contribute as much as before when your family had a hand in reducing your resources. 5. You finally draw a line, refusing free babysitting on the grounds that your body requires sleep. 6. Your mom responds to you finally addressing the issue with issuing an ultimatum. You took it, end of story. Either your mother is oblivious to how thin she was stretching you, or she's more into control than your personal growth. Don't go no contact, but don't go back either. You did well. Not the a-hole. Glad you left. You already lost a job because you had to watch the kids. But yet your mother still wants you to pay but risk losing your paycheck to watch your sister's kids? Why don't they bring the kids with them or pay for childcare? They should be paying you to watch the kids. Good on you for calling her bluff and leaving. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my mom when she's going to start prioritizing her kids? My 17 female mom had me fairly young, and as a result, I now have a 7-week-old brother. My mom thinks she's done parenting, so from the day she brought my brother home, I've been responsible for him pretty much. Now she's not pregnant anymore. She can go drink and smoke grass with her friends, and that's pretty much all she's been doing since he was born. Some nights, she doesn't even come home. I live in a country with paid maternity leave, luckily, so my mom is still getting paid for the time she's taking off, but she blows through it fairly fast. I've dealt with that one by getting shop brand everything, and I started cloth napping the baby so there's money for important things like his formula and clothes when they're needed. So this morning, I told my mom I needed money for the grocery shopping as we're low in everything, including formula and wipes. Normally I do the shopping on a Saturday because Sunday morning is hangover day, but there was a roadblock in my buzz route yesterday. Then my mom turned around and said she hasn't got any money, and that she spent it all last night. This was all it took to provoke me. I began to give out to her about everything. I told her that she's a horrible parent, and that the day I move out, I'm taking the baby with me and we're going no contact. But the line that set her off was, "When are you going to start prioritizing your children like a real parent?" This made her really angry. She went on a rant and called me insults, such as a-hole, brat, the c-word, the list goes on, and then told me to get lost. So I took my brother and went to a mate's. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I started cloth napping the baby. Normally I do the shopping on a Saturday. You sound like a mother. What that means is, A, you're a truly decent person for stepping up and taking care of this baby's needs. And B, your mother's an a-hole for putting you in that position. Don't think for a second you're any of the things she called you. I agree, except for the threat of taking the baby with her. While she may be doing all the work, OP is not the legal guardian. Sure, that could change with CPS, but that's not something to toss around in a heated argument. Not the a-hole. Your mother is a horrible parent. If there is a way to report her, I would. You should be worrying about school, friends, and enjoying your summer. Not raising an infant and worrying about nappies, wipes, and formula. That baby and you deserve better. This. OP, please leave ASAP and contact CPS, or whatever your country's equivalent for children's services is called, the second you can. Parentification is abuse, and your mom clearly expects you to pay for all her partying/messing around. I won't vote either way, as this is beyond a silly Reddit judgment. You need to get in contact with whatever form of social services you have in your country and save not only yourself, but your little brother. It's terrifying and will drastically change the course of your life. You're old enough to at least scrape by as you get back on your feet, but your little brother is not. Should he be left in her care, and the situation really is as dire as it sounds, you won't be able to help him when the hammer inevitably strikes and you leave the house. Imagine the mistreatment you must have gone through. Would you want him to go through that as well? Call someone, anyone, who knows of the government programs designed to help and protect young people in your position. And should said agency deem it really as drastic as it seems from your post, you'll end up with a better outcome than you would by staying with her. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for concealing my pregnancy from my family and not announcing until after I had given birth? I gave birth to my son in May. My pregnancy with him was not planned, though very much a highlight for my husband and me. The only thing was that I didn't want my family, mom, her husband, his kids, and his mom, to know. I was estranged from my mom for a number of years, and we had sort of reconciled a couple of months before the pandemic sent us into lockdown. Our relationship has been rocky since then, and I didn't want her trying to push past the let's see stage into me being her baby and her being grandma. She hurt me deeply. Not understand why. I struggled to cope with my dad's death when I was 9. He was sick for 2 years, had faded a lot in his last few months, and ended up very sick and in hospital for the final weeks of his life. It was traumatizing, and my dad was the stay-at-home parent with me before he got sick, so he and I spent a lot of time together and we were close. But my mom did her grieving when he was sick, and was able and ready to bounce back and start dating fast. Whereas I had nightmares, woke up crying, and often had panic attacks after his death. It pissed her off that babysitters would call her home from dates. And then when she got married and I was crying, It pissed her off even more because she had wanted me to keep watch of her husband's 2 kids at the time. It was another year passed before my grandparents were able to convince her I needed help, and this was 3 years after losing my dad. I was diagnosed with depression and trauma-related anxiety and started pretty intensive treatment. But even then, my mom showed no real empathy for me, and she was very cold about it all. But everyone in the house, my mom, her husband, his kids, and his mom, expected me to be happy and love how things were. My mom and I got into a fight when I was 17, because I chose to mark the anniversary of my dad's passing instead of celebrating her mother-in-law's retirement. And with that, I moved in with my grandparents and we didn't talk for many years. I did consider telling her about my pregnancy a few times, but I wasn't sure I could set boundaries with her and wanted to wait. But she found out 2 days after my son was born, and she was angry. She told me I denied the family the chance to be excited and plan for a new addition to the family, and that it was her and her husband's first grandchild, and I had no right to keep them in the dark for so long. He told me I was punishing my mom for being happy when I couldn't be. It made me question my decision to reconcile, but still I need to know. Where my actions are concerned, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Once again, she made your experience about herself. The only thing she should have said was, "Congratulations, what would you like for me to do?" I think from her reaction, you should clearly see that nothing has changed. I would close the door on that part of my life. Wishing you and your growing family the best. Thank you. I kept my mother in my life out of guilt and feeling that I owed her. I didn't owe that witch anything, and neither do you. She hurt you and doesn't care. Keep that vile woman away from that precious baby. You'll be a better mom for it. Not the a-hole. She did not have a right to know. She isn't entitled to anything from you. She should be appreciative that she found out it all. But it seems like she hasn't changed, and you may want to protect your child from her. That's where my thoughts were too. It's been a lot of bad history with us, and it looks like maybe it just can't work. Not even sure I truly wanted to, or if I was just going along to see. Either way, it's clear none of this is healthy for my son. Not the a-hole. It's not about her or your extended family. It's about you, your husband, and your baby. She's trying to make this about her when it's not. If she can't even attempt to see your point of view, then how much has really changed? Not really. I mean, yes, it was a conscious decision as an adult not to tell her, so maybe more can go on me. But it's very much like it was before, down to her anger and a willingness to understand. You did what was best for you and your family, and that's what matters here. Don't take the blame as you did nothing wrong. If it helps, my mother-in-law tried to get into it with me saying some BS about grandparents' rights. I told her to take me to court then, and that she won't be seeing her grandson until she can respect my wishes. You're the mom now. You have the opportunity to be everything you wanted from your mom. Look out for your baby. You got this, OP. Thank you. I needed to hear that from someone not my husband. He's wonderful, but he also loves me, and I know he's probably biased knowing I can do it. Your words mean more than my words here can express. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my kids go with my mom and her boyfriend? My mom lives in Washington and I live in Kentucky, and my mom just drove across the country to visit my kids and meet her new granddaughter. She recently got into a relationship with this guy who I had not met until Thursday last week, and we had been flirting with the idea of my 2 oldest boys driving back with them. They were going to take their time driving back to Washington and see different sights along the way. My wife and I were not entirely comfortable with this idea since we had not met him, but we were just going to trust her judgment. While they were here in Kentucky, my mother-in-law said they could stay at her vacant house while they are working out of town. I know this guy likes to smoke grass, which isn't a huge deal, except my mother-in-law and father-in-law have a very strict no substances rule at their house. I very directly told my mom's boyfriend that they have one rule, no grass or any other Ds. He acted like it wasn't a big deal, and I reiterated no grass. The neighbor is a state trooper, and will call my in-laws or the police if he catches a whiff, so just don't do it. Then my mom tells me he smoked the very same night I told him about their rules. Originally, their plan was to wait until later in the week to drive back, but then I got a call from my mom saying they're planning to leave Monday. I tell her that I can't trust him, and that my kids will not be joining them on their trip back. When I explained to her why I'm not comfortable with them going back with her boyfriend, she cried and told me it was just a misunderstanding. I tell her it was not a misunderstanding. I was very clear on the one rule my mother-in-law has for her home. It basically said, screw you, I'm going to do what I want. I also told her no matter how silly any rules are, or how much you disagree with them, this is my mother-in-law's house, and the rules need to be respected if you're going to stay there. She's now super upset, and I feel terrible. Am I the a-hole? Your number one responsibility as a parent is to protect your children. The first time you meet this guy, he flouts a rule about smoking because he thinks it's a stupid rule. What about other rules you have for your children? Your mother's feelings take a backseat to your children's well-being, not the a-hole. Just go for a walk. I think it may be a bit unreasonable to ask him to have absolutely none on him, but don't smoke in, near, around the house. Just take a stroll. Life isn't that hard. Obvious not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Why would you allow your children to go off with someone who smokes and doesn't respect your rules and boundaries? I understand that your mom is disappointed, but I think the well-being of your children comes first. I smoke, but never around when babysitting or around someone 14 or younger. If something happens, you're simply 3 to 4 seconds slower with every move you want to make. Not the a-hole. The only impression he's given you is that he can't follow simple, logical rules put in place for safety. To add, it's insanely disrespectful to smoke in someone's house when they have clear rules about it. Why would you believe he is going to follow any of the ones that directly involve the kids? Or be respectful to them, your wishes, or even what your mother may have to say about their care? Your children. If she can't see that because of her relationship with this guy, that's not your fault. That's exactly what I thought. When I was questioning myself and my decision, I thought, I used to break rules I thought were stupid, but then I realized I did that as a teenager, not as an adult who respects other people, their property and rules. Update. My first daughter isn't mine biologically. Original post. I'm sorry, but this is a long read. While I was in college, I was paired with a very peculiar roommate. She didn't talk to me much and would always be away. She was very clean and organized, and I thank the heavens for it because all of my friends complained about their roommates, and I had gotten lucky. Jump 2 years later, she comes up to me to say that she is pregnant and may need some help from me. I asked who the father was, but she said it was a random guy she hooked up with and she couldn't even find him anymore. When I asked about her family, she said that she didn't have one. Her entire family was gone and she had been in foster homes most of her life. It only got out because she wasn't underage anymore. After that talk, she didn't say anything else. I noticed that she had strange patterns. She would wake up and leave super early and get back super late. The only times she asked me for my help while pregnant was when she went to discover the sex of the baby and to accompany her to one appointment which was a bit away from campus. Even then, we didn't talk much. She kept her routine and I kept mine. Sure, she was pregnant, but she acted like she wasn't. And to be honest, there wasn't much I could do anyway. She didn't slow down even when she got near her end of the pregnancy, and I'm sure this played a huge part in how things ended. She was 7 months pregnant and asked me to take her to the doctor because she was feeling a lot of pain. She was weird during the entire ride, talking nonsense. She said she wanted me to care for the baby and to never tell the baby about her. At this point, I was freaking out. This wasn't supposed to happen, so I was just agreeing to whatever she was saying. When we got to the hospital, they took her straight to be examined and later to have a C-section. Apparently, she had preeclampsia and her placenta was detached. At this point, I called a few friends of mine because I was freaking out. The doctors gave me some medicine because my blood pressure was very high and I was having a panic attack. I don't remember that part, but that's what they told my friends when they got there. Later, I learned that my roommates had died because of the birth, but the kid was alive. They said that they found a note on her belongings saying that I was the one who was supposed to care for the kid because she had no one else and didn't want her daughter to be raised by strangers like she was. I was so confused at a time. They said they would have to contact child services and I would have to file for adoption. This was at a weird time, or maybe the city was just messed up, because they only checked my background and if I had a job at a place to fall back on. And that was that. They just gave me a baby. I didn't think twice about it because apparently the note that the roommates had left was a big thing and should be taken into account. They gave me the note to read and I wasn't supposed to ever tell the kid about her real mom. After a lot of time thinking, I came up with the idea to investigate her alongside my friends, which wasn't much since we were a bunch of idiots in college with not a lot of money. We could only find out that she was a night worker, and that nobody knew her much around college aside from a girl who was also a night worker and gave us the info. My friends told me to make up a pregnancy and have my parents care for the kid while I was in college. I'm not sure my parents ever bought the whole story, but they did love the kid and accepted to take care of her. The story was basically me getting pregnant on accident, and not telling them because I was ashamed, but coming back around because I realized that I needed help. 19 years later, I'm married with 2 kids who are mine, and my daughter who is mine but not by blood. I love all of them equally. I learned a lot after I graduated and had to care for her with the help of my parents. She's a bright kid and looks a lot like her mother, which makes me sad sometimes. She even says that we don't look alike, and I tell her she took after her father. I really wish I could tell her the truth. I feel so bad not doing it. I don't want her mother to be forgotten, especially by her own daughter. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Wow, very intense read. I can't imagine what you have been through. I immensely commend you for raising this child as your own. I don't think anything you did is something that you should feel the need to hide, and I can imagine this is weighing heavily on you. Eventually, your daughter is going to want to find out more about where she came from and who her father is. She is old enough now to understand the truth. I have a half-brother that my mother gave up for adoption before I was born. She didn't tell us until I was in my mid-teens, but I always had an inkling that something was amiss. It's hard to explain it, like a piece of me was missing. I wouldn't doubt that your daughter has a similar intuition. Yes, it was hard to learn the news that I had a sibling out there, but I felt no anger or resentment to my mother. Eventually, I began my search for my brother. After 5 long years of searching, we finally reconnected and have been back in our lives since. Finally, having the truth out there has been a huge weight off both of our shoulders. I know that if I was your daughter, I would want to know where I came from. She has a family that loves her. That's what truly matters. That's nice about you and your brother. The thing is that she is not the only one in the dark. My family doesn't know about the story as well. I'm afraid of everyone's reaction to this. I bet they will show you the same love you have shown your non-biological daughter. It would be hard for them to not be proud and love such a great person like you. You are one good dude, Opie. I wish you nothing but the best. Consider to have a private conversation with her. Let her be the first person to know. Let her decide if she wants the other family to know as well. It's her story the most if you decide to tell, and she needs the space to put it together herself first. You two going somewhere private is the best environment. Everybody knowing around her without her agreeing on this would stress her out even more. She deserves to be the one to know first. Explain the entire situation in a letter you give her while sitting next to her could be a good option. That way she can't interrupt the story and completely read your side before asking you hard questions. Also, write down everything you are worried about will happen because you told her. Why should you? You should trust her to tell everything, even if it's hard. It means you give her the truth about yourself and her in the most honest way you can. She may be in shock or angry as to why you mention it now. There's never a good time to tell. She just deserves to know. Her mother was alone, had no family left. She was ashamed of herself and her life. She must have felt something would happen to her, that something was going wrong. She didn't want to be known. She asked you not to talk about her. The saddest thing ever is to make her forgotten. She is invisible now, and she did mean something. She was in college. It just sounds like she tried to make something out of her life, even being at the bottom. Her death could have been prevented. She sure had a very difficult life. That doesn't mean she didn't deserve to be known. Of course, you want to keep her last wishes to the grave, but a relationship for life based on a buried secret, I don't mean to tell her now, but you need to prepare yourself. Maybe gather more information online, like where she was buried, print out things about her mother, pictures. If she's ready after the truth, hand her the envelope because she would want to know more about her biological mother. It would help both if you had it right there. She needs to see the evidence, it's no joke, and see you put an effort to show who her mother was. If she isn't up for it, she can open it anytime she wants. The people around you, if they find out about it, will react in shock as well. They won't hate you if they can think they respect you for telling her first when she's old enough and not getting others involved into this. Good luck. And now for the updates. I never thought so many people would pay attention to what I posted here. After making the post, my desire to come clean to my daughter got even bigger. And after reading the response to the first post, I just saw a lot of things that I hadn't thought about before. Also, after some time watching her, I knew something was on her mind. I told her the truth a few days ago. My husband took our younger kids to a birthday party, and I said I wanted some alone time with her so we wouldn't be joining them. We were hanging out watching TV, and after a while I asked her if there was something in her mind that she wanted to ask me. She asked about her biological father. I showed her the note my roommates left, and she didn't really understand at first, but then I started telling her what had happened. She cried a lot. It took a long time for her to calm down. I swear it was the hardest thing to do, because I wanted to cry during the entire thing, but it was her moment. She asked me a lot of questions about it. Why I never told her or anyone else in the family, why I was only doing that now. Was I feeling guilty? Was I feeling burdened by her? It took hours to answer all her questions, and to be honest, at this point I was crying too, because I didn't want to hear her question how much I care for her and how much I love to have her in my life. It was emotionally draining for both of us, and in the end, she just asked me to do some research on her mom and take her to see her grave. I agreed, and we will plan to visit her grave soon. I asked her if she wanted to tell the rest of the family, and she said it was only fair to do so, but she would do it with me. She did ask for some time to process it, and so far we haven't told anyone else. She has been pretty interested in the situation, and she has confessed me a lot of stuff I didn't know before. She said she used to feel like she didn't belong because she doesn't look like me, but her siblings do. She also said she would often feel like a mistake I made in my life when I was younger. Those and other things really broke my heart. As of right now, I decided to take care of her first, and then bring the rest of the family. I booked an appointment with a therapist to help us both navigate the situation in a healthy manner, and help us, especially her, to deal with the feelings that this situation brought to our lives. She has been closer to me than she already was. I feel like she's been more relaxed, and to be honest, so do I. I know I made a promise to never tell her the truth, but it just didn't feel right to let the memory of my roommate die with me when she has a living child, even if the memory is just her name. You are the epitome of a real parent. I wish I could hug you. Your daughter is very lucky to have you. Thank you for the update. OP, I'm proud of you. I'm adopted too, but I wasn't given up. I was taken away. Being adopted is hard, but you did right by your girl. Good job. Just a random thought. Perhaps she could sign to one of those DNA testing sites like Ancestry.com or 23andMe. If a relative of hers is also on the same site, it will show up. And even if no relatives are found, at least she gets some clues about her heritage. Last story is titled, Update. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my adoptive parents to my wedding? Original post. I, a 30 female, am getting married to my fiancé in May. I was adopted when I was a baby, and my adoptive parents' 50s did their best to raise me and support me through college. We always had a good relationship, and I obviously loved them. When I was 23, I decided to search for my biological parents, and long story short, they were teenagers, 14, when they had me. They are still together and they have 2 more children. They said they wanted to keep me, but they couldn't raise me, so they decided to put me up for adoption. The thing that really hurt me was that, in my childhood and teenage years, they tried to contact my adoptive parents and have a relationship with me, but my adoptive parents refused. When I confronted my adoptive parents, they said that they were afraid that I might prefer my biological parents, so they tried to keep them away. I was hurt and disappointed, and decided to go low contact. Over the years, we managed to build a better relationship, but it's not like before. So for my wedding, I decided to ask my biological father to walk me down the aisle, and he obviously said yes. When my adoptive parents learned about it, they were hurt, and said that their worst fear had come to reality, and if I insist to put my biological parents before them, then I shouldn't invite them to the wedding. My answer was that they're not invited then. Since then, all my adoptive family are calling me Nahol. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. You're the a-hole. Biggest one I've seen yet. You chose the people who didn't choose you. You completely cut out the people who chose you. They could have adopted anyone, but they chose you. They sacrificed their lives to make sure you had a good one. Karma's real, and you'll get yours. Not the a-hole. You don't owe your adoptive parents anything for raising you. They wanted a child, so they were obligated to provide for you. I'm sure over the years you ask about your birth parents. They chose to keep vital information from you. Once you learned the truth, you went low contact to give yourself time to heal from the pain your adoptive parents caused. It's your decision who walks you down the aisle. Instead of respecting you and your decisions, they requested not to be invited. If they want to be in your life, then they need to accept that your birth parents are a part of your life. They can't dictate who you're bonds with. You're the a-hole. Does your fiancé have an opinion? This is a huge red flag, to be honest. I'd have ran for the hills by now. Poor fella and poor adoptive parents. I honestly feel heartbroken for them. Everyone sucks here. Your adoptive parents for robbing you of a chance to know your bio parents. But I understand their worries. But in my opinion, that's what you sign up for when you adopt a kid. Eventually, bio parents have to become a conversation. You, of course, correcting as hard as you did after you found out. It's okay to be mad, but dang dude, that's tough. You want someone you've known for a few years in comparison to walk you down the aisle versus someone that provided for you your whole life, instilled your values and supported you through college? A time when they legally could have just left you on your own. Honestly, your bio parents aren't really that sucky here. I saw a few commenters say things like, oh, they could have made it work, or oh, their parents could have adopted you, as if children aren't a huge financial responsibility. Your bio parents have alluded to the fact that they wouldn't have been able to put you in college and support you through it, so they did what they thought they had to do to give you and your older siblings a stable chance at life. Minor update. I talked to them and suggested that both dads could walk me down the aisle. My adoptive parents refused, because they say that they did all the hard work and they shouldn't have to share the spot. But I told them that I will give them a couple of days to think about it. And now for the update. This will be my last post for anyone who is interested. My adoptive parents are officially not invited to my wedding, and we decided to go no contact. It was an emotional conversation. We cried the whole time, but I think it's for the best. They asked me if I can contact them again when I have a child. Since I was their only child, they won't have any other grandchildren. I said I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know how it could work. They got mad at me. I can understand why. I told them that giving them access to my future child would require contact. Maybe if we ever talk again, we can discuss this. They said I'm ungrateful. Well, a lot of people have said that. I guess I am. That I deprived them of any chance for children or grandchildren because they can no longer have kids or adopt. Then things just got bad. I don't think that we could possibly salvage this relationship anymore. I'm sad, but also happy for the new chapter of my life that is about to begin. Best wishes to everyone. So basically, you are doing the same thing your real parents did. Them wanting to have a relationship with your kids and you not letting them. The difference being they actually want to be there from day one. Unlike your biological parents who didn't want you. Only your siblings because they are the ones they love more and willing to work hard for, and always love more than you. You will always be a mistake, who is a second rate. The difference is that I will also tell my children from day one. Yeah, you have grandparents who love you and want to be in your life. But I'm a selfish loser who likes to abandon people, and I probably would do the same to you once you go against my needs. Must be nice to just replace one set of parents with another and just keep it moving. I wouldn't describe it as nice. You do know you created this entire situation yourself, right? I don't care anymore. I have my own life to worry about. I don't owe anything to anyone. Then no one owes you crap on here. Buzz off if you don't like it. Update. My wife admitted to poking holes in my condoms. Original post. I have no one to talk to about this. I just want to type it out to make more sense of it. My wife, Pam, and I are both 35. We met back in college and have been married for 6 years. Even when we were just good friends, I was always vocal about my indifference to children. I wanted to focus on my career and figure myself out before I even thought about bringing a human into this world. Pam was aware of this when we started dating, but she was slowly starting to get me to ease into the idea of kids. I knew our values were different, and it's my fault for continuing things, but I loved her so much. She is my best friend, and she helped me out of the worst period of my life. About 2 years into our marriage, Pam became pregnant from what I believed to be a freak accident. Obviously, I didn't leave or get mad at her, just wanted to preface that. I took care of her and supported her throughout the entire pregnancy. Pam gave birth to my twin baby girls. They are my world, plain and simple. I feel sad and alone even after just a little work trip without them. Pam became a stay-at-home mother, something I was completely fine with. Recently, Pam became pregnant again, intentionally this time, and she was starting to become distant and had a look of shame whenever I tried to talk or be intimate with her. I have been trying to be the best husband possible, but she always insisted she was fine and tried to distract me by talking about our girls. I came home from work to find Pam slouched over crying in our bed. Our daughters were spending the night with my sister, so we were alone. When I came over to comfort her, she started sobbing about how sorry she was. After I consoled her enough to speak, she explained that she had poked holes in my condoms when we had sex when she first got pregnant with our baby girls. She didn't try to justify herself, just went on about how she was a piece of trash and it deserved me, the girls or the baby. She was practically hyperventilating. I consoled her for the sake of the baby, but I was, and still am, angry. I've been sleeping in a guest room. I know that this is technically sexual assault, but I hate the idea of only seeing my daughters and baby half the time. Pam hasn't left our room since. I have to make her dinner after work. She looks so broken, saying that she'll move out if that's what I want. She's pregnant, so obviously I don't, but I'm still incredibly mad and sad. I still love her. I've known her for a decade and a half. She's been nothing but loving and supportive, and until now, very transparent with me. I just wanted to type this out to make sure my feelings, which I know are justified, are truly justified. My little girls have been the only reason I'm not breaking down and sobbing. I know I'm weak for thinking about forgetting about this. I'm still thinking about divorcing my wife after the baby's born, but I would still want her to live with me. I know, pathetic. I'm taking the next few days off work. Now for the top comments before reading the update. There's absolutely nothing pathetic about being hurt by and still wanting someone you love. People do stupid, horrible things, especially when they're hyper-focused. It sounds like your wife has issues with her betrayal, and she's attempting to take ownership of what she's done. Before you divorce her, think about if that's what you want. Don't worry about what you think others would expect you to do. If you are willing to forgive her and give her the opportunity to earn your trust back, then that's what you should do. It sounds like you're rightfully pissed off, but it also sounds like you're more concerned with your family and keeping them together. If that's ultimately what you want and you can live with it, then that's what you should do. If you know you can't get past it, then make the necessary changes for what you're able to accept. If it's divorce, it's divorce. My point here is that you don't have to leave because you believe that's what is expected or what you should do. If you leave, make it because it's what you actually want. Also, give it some time before you make a decision. You don't want to decide your future when you feel angry, hurt, and betrayed. I really hope things work out for you. I wish you the best. Thank you for the take based on reality. It feels like too many people get too hung up on doing what's expected of them. Real life is never so black and white, even for situations where one has been clearly wronged. I agree. That was excellent advice, and you're totally right about things not being black and white. Reddit is notorious, in my opinion, for having these really strong right and wrong takes, and life is just so much more complicated than that. I'm a woman, child-free by choice. I've always been so careful with my birth control, and I don't think I would be able to come back from finding out a partner sabotaged it. I also don't know that, in your situation, with children I'm attached to and another on the way, I would be willing to append my life and have them in primary custody of the person who did that. But again, I am not sure I could forgive it. I don't have advice regarding divorce or working it out. I will say that I would consider a vasectomy, particularly if you decide to stay. Even if you are able to forgive it, I don't think you should trust that again. The absolute hell with him considering a vasectomy. She should be the one sterilized, if anything. Why should he be sterilized because he was the victim of sexual assault? Now for the updates. Mini update. I'm going to bed. This entire situation is draining. I realized that I need to talk to my wife about this immediately and can't just leave things in the air. I will also look into getting therapy immediately. Thanks again for your advice. Update. This is a given, but thank you for taking the time to read and respond to the ramblings of my current situation. From giving me advice and telling me to suck it up, thank you. I'm 100% going to couples therapy with Pam and also therapy for myself. She's doing better, not as stressed out as she was before. No, I am not throwing Pam out of the house while she is 5 months pregnant. She's still being a recluse in our room, making me have to do her usual responsibilities. I was able to have a nice outing with my little girls. We saw Moana too. Lol. I guess I'm just here to say that I'm doing fine and we'll be getting professionals to help us through this. The simple matter of fact is that Pam betrayed me, but I still love her so much. Some people were telling me to DNA test my children, but there have been no signs of any affairs. I don't think I could even handle that kind of news if it were true. Even if we do end up getting divorced, I will never tell our family about what Pam did. She's still the mother of my children, and I don't want my family to think less of her. The same goes for my daughters. I don't want them to think they're the product of something like that, and I especially don't want them to think that I resent them. That's all, I guess. You're being an extremely generous person in this situation. I'm glad you and Pam are doing the work with therapy and trying to bridge this situation. Personally, the fact that your wife is still being a recluse and having you take care of everything at home really grinds my gears. She was the one who wronged you, and somehow she is the one acting like the victim and withdrawing from everything? The shoe really should be on the other foot, and she should be the one giving you space to process everything. I do think that you need to allow yourself to feel the emotions you want to feel. You seem to be doing the guy thing of being very outwardly focused on making sure your girls are taken care of, that the household is continuing to run, and solving problems that come up. I'm concerned you're focusing on everyone else so you don't have to deal with your own emotions, and eventually, you'll hit a boiling point. One small thing Pam does or doesn't do will set you off, and you'll explode on her. Then suddenly, you're the angry man yelling at your wife, and you're the bad guy. Don't put yourself in that position. I agree with all of this. OP, you have to ask, why did she tell you when she did? Why has she closed herself off to you? There are more details to uncover here, so please be prepared for it as best you can. OP, I am a mother to 3, and while I would never do what your wife did, there is also no way in hell I would shut my husband out and force him to do all my jobs as a stay-at-home mom on top of his actual job while I throw myself a pity party for wronging him. I'm imagining her guilt has made her depressed. Not that it makes any of what she did better, but it would explain why she's acting that way now. The way I see it, it's perfectly normal for her to feel bad about it, but I don't like her locking herself in her room and playing the victim. She stays there crying and moping around while you, who were lied to, have to get on with it all. If your wife feels so guilty, she should do something about it. I find it terrible that she plays the victim role. You were hurt by her actions, but you are the one who comforts her. That is wrong. You say couples therapy and that you're going to therapy, but you don't say whether your wife is seeing a therapist. That's an essential part of this. It would be wrong of me to try to say what's going on in her head, but it seems apparent that there's something wrong. The root cause of her desperate action may not have anything to do with you. For example, if a person were afraid of losing their partner, they might do something to try to keep them. But having a fear so big that it could motivate her to do something so life-changing, it seems there's a serious problem there, whether depression or some other issue. You need to start exploring this before she has the baby in order to prepare. Depression is seldom cured by childbirth. Next story. My 38 male wife, 35 female, lost a lot of weight to gain the attention of her work crush. How do I move forward? After we had our kids, my wife gained a lot of weight, about 80 pounds. Honestly, I was fine with it. I thought she was still hot, and my desire for intimacy never waned. For a while, she was fine with her weight too. Fast forward 5 years, and all of a sudden, my wife gets really into fitness and nutrition. She buys a Peloton, goes on a strict diet, and loses all the weight, and then some. She looks like she did when I met her in her early 20s. She looks great, but like I said, I thought she looked great heavy too. Then one day last week, she comes home from work and I can tell something is really bothering her. I ask what's wrong, but she's evasive and distant. This lasts a few days before she finally breaks. She tells me that the reason she was so determined to lose weight was that she wanted attention from a guy at work she has a crush on. She said that all the women have a crush on this guy, and she just wanted his attention. Well, apparently she got too much of it on the day she came home so upset. He had apparently been flirting with my wife for a few weeks, and that day he asked her if she wanted to have dinner with him after work at a restaurant that just so happens to be in a hotel. He heavily implied that they could get a room afterward or even skip the restaurant and just get room service. She tells me that up to this point, it was all just fantasy in her head, but now it was real, and she snapped out of it. She realized that she'd gone way too far. She declined his invitation, of course, and felt she needed to confess what she'd done to me. I was crushed and still am. First, I'm actually upset she told me. I know this is some form of cheating, but I didn't suspect anything. She could have just kept this to herself and not passed her burden on to me. So the thought comes to my mind that maybe she wants me to dump her so she can be with this guy, and that's why she is telling me. So I ask her that, and she breaks down crying. That's not what she wants. She says she loves me and just wanted to be honest with me and apologize. Nothing physical happened, I'm pretty sure of it. I can track her phone and also have a pretty free access to it. She never hides it, leaves it everywhere, and that phone never leaves work. I suppose she could be cheating on her lunch break and leave the phone, but I just don't think she'd leave the phone and not be available for the kids. So I don't think I want the divorce. I love her, and we have kids. But it's just eating at me that she did all the work she did to be attractive for another man. I don't know where to go or even what to ask of her. I just need some advice. You need couples counseling ASAP. Without that, a clear path forward will be tough to find unless something else happens. No, this is over. She has been emotionally cheating for months and was very close to taking it further. This would not be some overnight journey. She has been actively going after the guy's attention and flirting with him for months now. A bit of attention or harmless flirting this is not. This is well beyond that. And the flirting got heavy enough that the guy proposed a hotel hookup with a married woman. Unless she was hiding that she was married from him, which only makes this even worse. This is well beyond getting any couples counseling. He needs to simply get out. There is absolutely no excuse or valid reason for going after another man or woman actively for months at a time and flirting to beat the competition at work. Not to mention, the husband has been nothing but supportive. He continued to love her, said she was still hot, and was only supportive of her weight gain/loss. This is just not acceptable from your wife or husband. Honestly, the main thing that should stick out is that she did all of this to get the attention of another man. She claims she didn't go through with it, but honestly, it sounds like trickle truth. Personally, I don't think I could be with someone who committed so heavily for what I imagine must have been an extended period of time to lose 80 pounds for another man, when the man she had loved her no matter her weight. Think about it. All that time she was focusing on her health, she was really focusing on getting another guy. Don't matter if she went through with it or not. I'm waiting for the update of, turns out my wife actually did go up to his hotel room, and it's only when they moved from foreplay to sex did she realize how wrong it all was. She definitely needs therapy individually to explore what caused that behavior, then couples counseling to work on being a better couple together. If you can't move on after that, at least you tried. Last story. My parents named me after a fantasy TV show character, and it's deeply affected my life. I was born just after the first season of the show. They decided to name me after one of the main characters, but it's not her actual name. Instead, it's her title. It's pretty dumb. I've been bullied and made fun of because of it in school. You can probably guess what it is. It's from a dark fantasy TV show with lots of swords and a big throne. When I was growing up, I liked the name because of how unique it is. I remember a teacher asking me if I was telling the truth when I told her my name when I was about 6-ish. I didn't really understand stuff like that back then. I'm considering getting my name changed, but it feels a little wrong to do so. I do feel like it is my own name and my parents did name me that. Because of my name, I got into horses and horseback riding. Emulation, I suppose. I am who I am because of it, but the bullying recently is getting to me. Lots of riding jokes. I don't hate my parents or anything, but I did feel angry at them today over it. Now for the comments. Wow, the Khaleesi's are old enough to post on Reddit? Boy, am I old. Recently saw Moana 2, and when the credits started rolling, one of the child voice actors' name is Khaleesi. Oof, my friend named her kid Daenerys before the end of the show. She's probably in middle school by now. I dislike my name too. It's unisex, so very often people who haven't met me assume I'm the opposite gender. My name is more often used as a nickname, so people assume I have a real name other than that. I can't complain to my parents because they said it was a name my late uncle who died when I was 2 suggested. It came from a Beatles song. Many years ago, after the mini-series Roots was shown, there was a couple in my town who named their son Kunta Kinte. Years later, in the personal section of the paper, I saw a public notice that said Kunta Kinte wanted to change his given name to John. I hope his parents didn't do a reverse Roots and whip him for insisting his name is John and not Kunta Kinte. Would have been pretty fun if it changed it to Toby though. This post should be pinned in every baby name sub. Yeah, I feel like some parents don't get the idea of just how impactful a name actually is. It's the child who will actually be called that.